Greetings, parish orphans and retrogrades. Happy Sunday.
Hello.
You see before you Stephanie Gordon.
I'm alive.
Using my UFC announcer voice. So we don't normally come to you on Sunday afternoons, and of course, the reason for that is because usually we're chilling out with the fam. Today's special in a number of ways. Steph makes her exciting return to Rules for Retrogrades. People have been asking much. Her book, Ask Your Husband, is out in its second edition. It came out while she was pregnant with young Penelope, our seventh, which is cool. I'm not trying to underplay that, but like, I don't know. And we've been planning a return for Steph where we can talk more about Ask Your Husband in positive ways, given all the drama of the spring. But then, of course, we weren't planning a Sunday show, and lo and behold, there's this drama, Matt Fradd drama, again surrounding the Matt Fradd Twitter account and the Matt Fradd show, Pints with Aquinas, and feminists. And that always encircles...
Woken me from my slumber.
Yeah,
the feminism beast reared its head, and I was just like Dracula out of the coffin, like, oh.
Dracula to fight the beast, the feminist beast. I mean, this is what we're going to do for you today. If you haven't heard yet, we're doing a composite show. The current event in the Catholic world online is that our friend Matt Fradd, our family's still recovering from his family's COVID. A mutual friend brought it to us. He, in, I guess, July, before he did his August fast of technology or what have you, he'd done a show where he said he doesn't think female comedians are funny at all. It was a very common opinion. I guess I should say he admitted that female comedians are not funny at all.
He said out loud what everybody says in their houses all the time. I've literally, all of our friends have all noted the same thing. Female comedians aren't funny.
Well, I've never met
the
someone
audacity
who
to say
thinks
out loud.
they are, right?
No.
I mean...
No, of course not.
Okay, so let's say that. He admitted that female comedians aren't funny, and some Pints with Aquinas in July did his social media purge in the month of August, then came back out, and simultaneously in the first week, I guess the end of the first week of September, a number of things were happening. A comedian who is, I believe Catholic, named Jen Fulwiler, took umbrage and was taking umbrage to this proposition that I take to be just a simple matter of plain statement.
I think most people do, yeah.
I think most people do.
Which is why they got mad. The truth is always hurtful.
Which is always why you know it's true, because look at the groups that get mad. We're going to go through all these issues one by one, but so she saw it around early to mid last week. I'm not sure of the timeline, so you're talking end of the first week of September. And then he doesn't want to call it double down. He, or the person who runs his Twitter account, without knowing that this Jen Fulwiler, who I do believe is a Catholic, but is a comedian of sorts, and she had taken umbrage, and maybe incidentally, his Twitter tweeter had said, his Twitterer person had said that, hey, women aren't funny. So Matt took on Friday or Saturday, yesterday, the day before, we'll get your take first, Steph, but I just want to get these facts out there. He took to YouTube and did kind of a walking in a random field video, like, here's the deal, and it's not an apology, but it's kind of an apology. We want to give some words of encouragement to Matt, because he's a nice man, just a nice man, and he deserves none of the hell I think he thought he was going to get for this. I don't think he got any, because he's got a really reasonable audience that sometimes trads think is normier than it is. I mean, there are normies in his crowd. There are some people that were offended, but there are also a lot of traddy leaning, really reasonable folks and females in his audience that said, Matt, this is totally true. Why would you apologize for saying 2 and 2 and 4? Like, women aren't funny. Now, Matt, in that video, in the course of it, sort of did an apology because he seemed to be distinguishing between there aren't funny comedians, which is he stood by, which is good for you. Never apologize.
100% the truth.
100% the truth. And women aren't funny. And before we get to that, which he did kind of apologize for the tweet which implied women aren't funny. It's a little broader, but there's a conceptual connection that's robust between those two propositions. And so we're going to get into it. But first, I have a woman with me. I
am indeed a woman.
A human female.
Biological woman.
Grown. Biological. 46 chromosomes in all of their splendor. In all of her splendor. And it's you, Steph. So, I mean, people associate you and me with not only Matt Fradd, because I think the most controversial show that he's ever done was when I went on 3 summers ago. And I was in the studio there and really attacked, full frontal assault feminism.
And that's what we actually thought that he was in trouble for, because we saw some rumblings about Matt Fradd saying something about women, and we were like, oh, is it the infamous Tim Gordon Matt Fradd interview? It wasn't.
Yeah, shockingly. Yeah, I think I just finished doing a video on Friday with our mutual friend, ours and Matt's, Seamus Coughlin, Shamecog of Freedom Tunes. A lot of you watch. This is a great show. If you didn't catch it, go see it. He's a genuinely funny person, an actually funny person, actual Catholic Seamus Cog. And he said something that we're going to talk about today that turns out to be prophetic almost, about why the left can't meme, why the feminist, LGBT, radical left isn't funny, and the one thing that they make jokes about. And as we were doing this show, Steph, literally, and Seamus is saying this prophetically true thing, all of this is roiling. All of this imbroglio about Matt Fradd is roiling. And the first thing I saw when we got offline, I looked at the computer and I saw, I think, Hunter Bradford of Church Militant, who's a independent friend of mine, had said something on Twitter about the Matt Fradd issue. And I was like, I assumed it was about me, not because I'm a narcissist, but because, Matt doesn't typically do controversial shows. And he took the normier position between the two of us, he and I.
And usually when somebody's getting in trouble for saying something about women, it's usually this camp over here. Which may make Matt feel like, I don't know if I want these people necessarily defending me, but yet here we are. Yeah. But here we are.
Well, I'll defend Matt. He's a nice man. He is not a closet gay, which, lo and behold, you guys know how the woke virtue signaling laughter shaming left works. They literally will say, you better not say you don't like black licorice. That's all he was saying. I don't like black licorice. And the virtue signaling left, I'll even read a tweet by one of Jen Fulwiler's friends who did a very simpy tweet. They say, you better laugh. If this is a woman, you better. All of a sudden, the left's moral relativism, feminism's moral relativism, breaks down. That's another one of the topics we're going to cover today. All of a sudden, it's not just, do you like black licorice or do you like red vines more? Anyone's opinion is equally valid. Everyone's opinion is equally valid. Now, all of a sudden, if it's one of the special protected classes, women, then you can't say your simple point of view. So we've kind of pre-introduced a lot of these.
Imply that he was like a closet homosexual because he didn't find her jokes funny or something?
Yeah, that's what
How about just you're not funny and he's a straight man? How about just that reality?
Right. No, she did not imply it. She said it. She said,
"Oh, okay."
I'll play it for you because I want to play it back to back. She'd said it within 36 hours of Seamus Coughlin, who I guess is a prophet, saying this is exactly what they do. The left always accuses you of being some sort of sex pervert if you say you don't that sodomy is a sin, or you're some sort of sex freak if you say that you don't like feminist jokes.
So her point of view is, if you don't find her jokes funny, then you are a gay man. That's
closeted
gay man. Okay, all right, yeah, got it.
But now people are all right. So what Steph? Because you are a 46 chromosomed live adult human female. And people associate you with being a little bit of a prankster, Because, hey, I mean, this is your book. Ask your
I have to enjoy a good laugh. I
And you
signed up for that.
After you pissed off all of the feminists who are trying to call themselves Catholic in the world, in your second edition, you called yourself Mrs. Timothy J. Gordon. That shows that Steph is the Teflon Dawn.
They wouldn't let me do that with the first edition, so with the second edition, I am indeed Mrs. Timothy J. Gordon.
So they associate you with being this laughing, joking, witty, clever prankster. I think that's, but with lots to say that, you were selling tons and tons of copies of your first edition of the book before all kinds of stuff happened to it. So how do you square, and we haven't rehearsed this, how do you square a defense of the truth that women aren't funny? That's why there are no comedians who are funny, with the proposition that people, that I think is true. People think you're funny, and you do make me laugh with one-liners. We haven't rehearsed this.
No, I mean, I think that's where Matt got himself into trouble, so to speak, is that you're not ever allowed to, for any reason, at any time, say anything negative ever about women. He said something that is just true, straight up true. Everybody knows it, that women comedians, they're usually only wanting to drop F-bombs or be super irreverent or talk about their private parts. Even these Catholic ones, they want to talk about how many kids they have and all that. It's like, well, where are the kids? Where are the kids when you're going around just lollygagging on stage? And who's treating your husband like a king at home when you're across the country? Who's tending to that? Matt said something that is true and everybody knows it. And I think most women in his audience, and I know me and all my friends, when they saw that, they were just like, he's right. He's right. I have never laughed at a female comedian, never one time. And I'm not somebody who's a stick in the mud like these. I could hear the Catholic feminist comedian or whatever her name is now saying, oh, you probably just don't enjoy a good laugh. No, I absolutely do. I probably laugh a little too easily, according to my friends and family. And I've just never laughed at any of your jokes. I don't find you funny at all because I don't find it humorous. And I think most people agree with me. And I think a lot of people, even in Matt's audience, women, were saying, yeah, there's nothing for you to apologize for, dude. Just say what you think, and you're gonna piss people off sometimes. That's 100% fine and expected.
Okay, but so all that, obviously I agree with all that. Good. Obviously I'm with you. But okay, so Matt did this kind of apology video. I only found it late last night, and I didn't, even though I'd seen that Matt was kind of in quote unquote trouble. And I do put that in quotes, and I'll explain why later. It's not real trouble. No one's coming for you. But even though I'd seen that on Friday from Hunter Bradford on Twitter, from Church Militant, I think I'd heard that it was from July, and I thought it was a snap-in-time memoir of something that had happened midsummer that I hadn't heard of, and I didn't realize how current it was. So I put it aside in my head. After we finish shows, we go down and go get a bite to eat or
get out of this room.
Hang out with the kids. Get out of this upstairs room. And then I forgot about it till last night, late. It was actually after you'd fallen asleep. And I was like, this is hilarious for so many reasons. And for so many reasons when I looked that pertain somewhat to things that we've said. Like I looked, for instance, at his video. And the first thing I saw was my own name. It jumped out at me. Someone was like, just do the Tim Gordon line. And it's actually the Conor McGregor line. Like, I want to take this moment to apologize to absolutely no one. Just a Conor McGregor line. It's
and also, there was that video going around on Twitter. I think it was was it Matt Getz or something? They asked him, like, what do you have to say to people who are offended by your remarks about something? And he was just like, stone cold face, be offended.
That's what you should do.
Just be offended. Yeah. Ladies who think they're comedians.
Yeah. Be offended. That's fine. But here's one word I gave on Twitter of friend to friend caution to Matt, who deserves none of the hell. And I don't think he's really getting any hell. I think in his head he thought it was going to be worse than it is. That's always how it is because they can't do anything. They're paper tigers. But here's the thing. To distinguish, what he actually said was, I just don't find female stand-ups funny. I don't apologize for that. Good for him. But 3 or 4 seconds before that, he said, obviously women are funny. And so when I asked you, Steph, we hadn't rehearsed this. when I'm asking you how to parse those two statements that seem like they bear a genus to species relation, more broadly, more generic, like a genus, is the statement, obviously women are funny, and people, I do find your one-liners extremely quippy. You're good on Twitter. You're good with one-liners. You're good with timing. You're funny. People have seen you be funny on this show. So in some sense, Matt's right. Obviously, some women are funny. They're more outlier. They can be in one-liners. But in terms of entertaining with all the limelight on them, you're the lead. You're going to entertain people for an hour on stage. All of us agree. No, I mean, Jerry Seinfeld agrees. He's not an ideologue. Women comedians aren't funny. Same thing. You can't have a female lead that holds down a 2-hour film or a full novel. Okay, so because of the fundamental relationship between men and women described in your book, Ask Your Husband. So how would you parse that? That's how I begin to parse it.
I was
You're
thinking
funny,
about that last night. Like one-liners, I think women are, that's a good point. Like I think, I've heard women give one-liners before. I've literally never heard of a woman comedian that I thought was funny. I think it does break down to like the differences between the sexes. We're very big on that, and I think that just something that men are obviously much better at is just showmanship, being up there, performance, that sort of thing. I don't see women being good at that. And as a matter of fact, when they try to be, it usually always has the same stink to it. It's always usually in the secular female comedian arm. It's always them being super crass, dropping the F-bomb, talking about their private parts, like how sexually licentious they are. And they think that's super avant-garde, and people are getting their smelling salts and fainting couches because a woman is speaking the F word or whatever. They think they're being super cool, and everyone's just rolling their eyes and saying, this is the cringiest, lamest thing I've ever seen in my life. Or you have some of the, I guess, toned down ethical ones that just want to talk about their kids and their families and stuff. And when they're up on stage, I'm just thinking to myself, like I said earlier, well, who's taking care of your family while you're gallivanting all around the country doing a subpar job being a comedian?
And they say you're not allowed to ask that. Of course, you ought to be.
Yeah, well, I am asking that because that's a question that needs to be asked. Yeah, so.
Okay, so I agree with all that. But there's something to be said for parsing that, but I would say there are at least 3 reasons why never to do apology videos.
Oh, yeah.
If I could just advise my friend Matt, and it's already done, so no harm, no foul. Or why never to take down tweets. I've taken down tweets, when I was new at this. Never take down tweets. Just leave them up. Let it ride, baby. Let it ride. Okay, so 3 reasons why not to do apology videos. Because in principle, I think Nietzsche says it, don't leave your actions in the lurch. Unless it's an actual sin and it's required of your penance. Don't leave your actions in the lurch. In principle, obviously, this is a thing where upon you've become a social respondent. This is not your conscience pricking you. And by you, I don't just mean Matt, goodly Matt Fradd. I mean me, because I'm much more, 100 times more than Matt in so-called trouble for tweets or things I've said on a YouTube video.
That's actually where we do find women to be funny, is when they get mad at us for saying things that are just true. We actually do get a good laugh at that.
Accidentally.
Yeah,
yes.
accidentally.
But it's very boring in the other sense. I mean, from their point of view, they're like, look, I have to be a stick in the mud. I'm going to signal you with all this virtue now. But so that's the first reason never to do apology videos is principle. As applied, it is always going to befuddle the way that you're attempting to apply a principle to a concrete situation. And then the third reason you never want to do an apology video is because it literally, it's impossible to even tell what the person doing the apology video really means. Like when Matt said, obviously women are funny in the apology video. Then he did say, but I don't apologize. I just don't find female stand-ups funny. The audience is left wondering if they're discerning at all. I'm not saying don't make distinctions. Here on Rules for Retrogrades, we are huge on distinctions, but that sounds like a distinction without a difference. I find 0 female stand-ups, aka comedians, funny. But women are funny in the unbracketed sense. I think if you're going to go there, which he didn't want to, this is an under 5-minute video. then you're going to have to get into more distinctions, which automatically take more time. So if you say...
Didn't she, by the way, say something to him in response? She said, well, you went to one of my shows. And to which I say back to her, like, well, then that would make him an expert about you not being funny. See, I didn't go to any of your shows, and I don't think you're funny. But Matt happened to have actually sat and saw your performance, right. And he is in a better position to say you weren't funny. So, you know, take that as you will.
I've never been to a Jen Fulwiler show, and I am 100% sure that it wasn't funny, Steph says, and I agree with. Matt has been to a Jen Fulwiler show, and he's 100% sure she's not funny. You're going to want to come after us, because you can at least hope that there's some margin of error. It's somewhere in our categories, Jen
please
Fulwiler.
Come after us.
But it is really odd to, and this is another one of the things I want to address. It's really odd to go, you don't like black licorice? You must be a closet homosexual, which is almost a direct quote, what she said. And we're going to get to Prophet Seamus Coughlin, who was on the show Friday while all this was roiling in 1 second. But I do just want to, I want to close the point on, is this purely a distinction without a difference? Or is it a distinction that has a very cautious, that must be cautiously made to say, obviously women are funny, I just don't find female stand-ups funny. I think that the fine needle to thread there, tell me what you think, Steph. This is all unrehearsed, is women just obviously are not funny in the same way that men are, as leads, as entertainers, guys that, if you've ever known just a really funny dude, he gets in the room and he kind of is like there's a spotlight. No, there's never been a woman like that. The two funniest women I know, two best, quippiest one-liners, texters, tweeters, are my wife, sincerely, and my cousin, who you guys have met on the show. Hilarious tweeters and one-liners. But both of them in a crowd are... maybe
the
less
guys
so
take the floor.
The guys take the floor.
We let the guys take the floor. And usually it's when women are trying to do that kind of showmanship, that's why we get these nauseating platforms like TikTok, where it's like 30 seconds of ultra dramatic, they're wearing costumery. I mean, these are grown women that are doing this stuff. And it's like, that's why ultimately the whole thing is just gross and cringe. It's like, just broads, get off the internet. And then you see them like entangling their husbands in these little like dance videos and stuff, and I'm just like, this just reeks of like just femininity gone totally askew.
Well, femininity running foul of masculinity. Okay, so do you think I don't know, not perfectly, but can we consider that needle threaded? Like, there is a distinction in there somewhere, where I'm not saying your daughter, and our daughter Maggie's funny in the sense that you are.
Again,
funny with a one-liner.
In the interpersonal one-liners, funny observations, things like that. But these
Privately.
women who are trying to do that, like it's like women fighters or women MMA people. It's like you're just not cut out for it. Just stop. It's embarrassing to everyone. And usually the people that find those women funny are other women or these simpy Catholic guys I'm noticing on Twitter that are like, I'm currently laughing at a woman right now. And it's like, take a back seat, pal. Like, keep the simping under control.
We're going to read from that simp. Catholic Simp Watch. The man's name is Jeremy McClellan. He said snarky things about me before. I don't mind. I think he also is does some of the comedy. He does male comedy, not female comedy, but he does some simping, as judging by a tweet that we're going to read you in a second. But first off, I want to we'll consider that needle threaded. Women can be outlier women. It's not even common in the private setting, but outlier women can be clever or witty with one-liners. You're that way. I think Maggie's that way. The cousin's that way. I don't know that many, okay? And it stops the second there's a big group. Then women don't want the limelight. Or the women that do want the limelight don't deserve the limelight. Like, I think Jen Fulwiler there. And the proof is in the pudding. The pudding being a really funny guy, the funniest dudes I've ever known, don't care if you're like, hey man, you're not funny. They'll make a joke out of what you're saying.
They're not getting sensitive. They're not
or serious.
Freaking out, hysterical, like losing their minds because somebody said they weren't funny. It's only the female comedians who are like writing letters to their congressman about somebody saying that they weren't funny or accusing somebody of being gay who doesn't think that they're funny.
Like, okay, so here it is. Let's listen to Jen Fulwiler accusing him.
People are like,
is that her?
wow, Jen, like, don't you guys know each other? He's like racking his brain and can't think of one. So I'm actually not going to address that particular video because I get it. Like, the guy is hustling for his YouTube income. That's what you got to do in this game to keep your name out there, get your ad revenue from YouTube. Look, I don't want to get a real job either. I get it. I mean, if I, look, if I had a podcast, I have a podcast, but if I were dependent on YouTube revenue for my podcast, I would be saying salacious things too. I would be like, podcast bros who say women aren't funny, are they always closet gay? Or are there other issues? Like, well, and it's like, it's not even that you 100% deep down.
Are they always closet gay?
So that's not, it's not salacious to say, yeah, what the hell is wrong with someone for saying that? That's, I mean, again, you're just getting into defamation suit time. When you ask someone, maybe you're a closet gay because you don't find women funny. That's all men everywhere. And most women don't find women funny.
Yeah, can I just be honest with her real quick? I guarantee you most of the people behind your back think you're ridiculous and don't think you're funny. And so when people say that, when they just are honest and say, yeah, female comedians aren't funny, they're just saying out loud what people are saying in their homes. Because I have literally had that conversation just randomly with every single person in my social circle, and including women, and they all 100% agree how ridiculous it is when women are doing certain things like comedian, MMA fighting, things like that. Some things are just not cut out for women. And again, your real job, she said that in that thing, she's like, oh, yeah, I don't want to get a real job either. Your real job is, again, taking care of your kids and your husband at home. So that
you have one.
You have one. You're just not doing it.
Here's Prophet Seamus Coughlin, who was saying this literally about 15 minutes before I heard about this whole swirling, roiling imbroglio. And it's perfect. It is the perfect description of why women aren't funny and why the left isn't funny. Okay?
This was on the show, what, 2 days ago?
Yeah, okay, 2 days ago, Friday.
It's getting really, really boring. It's been boring for a long time, but like, if you say something about gay marriage being wrong, you're secretly gay, right? Not like, that's the joke. If you say something about pornography being bad, you're probably some kind of sex freak. Like, their whole thing is, they're like, one joke is this person actually means the opposite of what they're saying.
Yeah. I guess Jen Fulwiler did this show on Wednesday, 2 days before, and I don't understand the timeline because it only exploded on Friday, but I promise you, I did not even know, and I don't think Seamus knew, we weren't talking about them. We were just talking about the left in general. And it's like he gives this prophetic, perfect answer, knock it out of the park when I asked Seamus, why can't the left meme? Why aren't they funny? Why can't they cartoon?
Can we go back to the female nature and just humor in general? When a man who's good at comedy, like Tim said, gets up there and delivers a joke, and let's say it actually isn't funny, they know how to navigate out of that, where they make fun of themselves, have a little bit of self-depreciation. Like, that's actually really funny to see, like Conan O'Brien or Jay Leno, like, you're like, okay, I guess that joke sucked, and then moved on. It's only women like this broad who's getting upset. Like, I mean, again, women of female nature getting upset and emotional and attacking a man that she doesn't even know sexuality because he doesn't find her funny. That's exactly the argument for why women, A, aren't funny, and B, are not built for certain things.
I was thinking about this last night when I'm a bigger boxing fan than MMA fan, but we did watch the Diaz-Ferguson fight last night. And I was thinking this watching Nate Diaz, who's is not far from our hometown, Stockton they're also Valley Rats. We are from Bakersfield. And it's tough stock. We always would make this joke. Tough stock come from Stockton. Just street fighter, brawler guy. But he's skinny. He has no muscles. And neither does his brother, Nick Diaz. But you watch him in the octagon. And I'm not the giant MMA fan that I am boxing. And he's just comfortable. Remember, I kept saying that? He's loose.
There's
liquidity.
Yeah, liquidity there. There's a comfortableness there. It's not seeming like you're desperate for attention or frantic when someone says that your jokes suck.
You're just there. You're Dasein. You're being there in time. You're present. gay Oriental metaphors you can use that people borrow from Buddhism. Like your presence is there and it's impressive. And I'm like, this cat is just a good street fighter. I don't find it nearly as beautiful as I find boxing. It's a beautiful art, boxing. But the MMA is cool. It's cool to watch Nate Diaz or his older brother, Nick Diaz, because they're these skinny guys that are just in there, and they're not hyper skinny. They're just comfortable. And it's kind of like watching Tyson Fury more artistically as a heavyweight boxer, just so comfortable with the liquid movements. There's no tightness. There's no self-defensivity. There's no self-consciousness. There is just being there in time and making all the right ways to take up space. That is what the left can't do. That is what, more than anyone, feminist leftists can't do. And that's what evidently Jen Fulwiler can't do. I mean, I listened to some other passages from her podcast on Wednesday, and it's not the penitential season. So I could only stand 3 or 4 of them. They were all sent to me. But really,
men who didn't think they were funny. Yeah.
Yeah, by someone with a brain. Yeah. Who was like, this is really nasty. I mean, to imply that Matt, I hope Matt, I don't think he's gonna sue her for defamation, but total false light defamation suit or even more. That you got to watch what you say. That's the other thing. You can't just get mad, get catty, and then the
ladies,
fangs come
you're not
out.
allowed to just start freaking out and accusing guys of things just because you don't like their opinions. It's another reason to get off of there.
Yeah, that's a particular kind of defamation where being a closeted homosexual, a practicing homosexual, when he's this big-time Catholic influencer guy, given the phantasmagoria of the Roman Catholic doctrine against active homosexuality, that literally would hit him in the pocketbook. That's a big deal. Now, Matt's not going to do that. He's not going to go after her. But the point is, it's like the Regensburg Address when Pope Benedict gave that in 2006. Remember, he quoted emperor of the Holy Roman Empire who said, all that Islam has brought is the sword, violence. And they proved him wrong, the Muslims, for the next week by putting a bunch of people to death, the sword. We're not violent, we're going to kill you. That's what Jen Fulwiler just did on her show. And more specifically, there's another reason why women aren't funny. It's because, I guess you kind of already said this, Stevie. It's like, dude, she got called unfunny, and instead of being like, okay, poopy face, and making a funny joke.
Doing like the Jay Leno or the Conan O'Brien, where he's just like making a joke out of it and deflecting it, because that's what truly funny people who have talent with that do. They know how to navigate those sorts of situations. She did exactly what you would think like a sensitive female would do, because women are more naturally sensitive than males. She attacked somebody she didn't even know. Not only just attacked him, but she made assumptions about his sexuality because he had the audacity to think that she wasn't funny. Total chick move.
Yeah, on a bad day or whatever. Yeah. Not all chicks do that. You wouldn't do that.
No, I mean, when I say that, I'm like, other women know what I mean by that.
Of course, it's a chick move in that sense. But I do want to give credit to Matt's audience. I already said this, but when I was scrolling through the comments, they're all like, "Don't apologize, please don't apologize." They're saying what I was saying. They're like, "No, women aren't funny. I'm a woman. Like, it doesn't matter who I am. Like, common reason, natural reason tells us, no, women aren't funny. They weren't built to be funny." But the funniest way of instantiating this principle is by looking at this tweet by her, I guess, is this a co-comedian, Jeremy McClellan? He pictured her in front of an audience, and he tweeted, about 24 hours ago, "Currently watching a girl be funny. Please alert the Catholic influencers." So, if this would never happen with even Larry David, who was a bitter comedian and would say F you to the audience if they didn't like his comedy.
Which would be funny.
That itself would be funny, or at least entertaining. And he wouldn't take to Twitter or have his friend take to Twitter and be like, "Oh, well, New Yorkers can be funny, and I'm currently watching them." By the way, currently watching a girl be funny, please alert the Catholic influencers. I responded, I think, a genuinely good one-liner, and here's what it was on Twitter. Did you alert the audience?
It's like when Jeb Bush like finished his speech and he's like, and there was like an awkward silence where he's expecting applause and he was just like, you may applaud now.
Yeah, there's no.
It's like, bro, come on, that's so ick, dude. Stop that. Like, and that's did you at Catholic Simp Watch? Because I really hope you did on that one.
Yes, I did. I did at Catholic Simp Watch.
Oh boy.
I genuinely did.
Yikes.
Catholic Simp Watch, if you're simp watching this, please, Jeremy McClellan's tweet from about 23 hours ago, he said, currently watching a girl be funny, please alert the cat. Bro, if she is really funny, my dog, my dude, then you know what's going to happen? People are going to laugh without you saying, that's funny.
You will
laugh. You know?
You will laugh at her jokes.
Yeah, you will laugh at her jokes.
And you will love them.
You know what she was trying to do when she delivered that punchline? She was trying to make you laugh. So you laugh. That's not how comedy works. You got to be loose. You got to be Nate Diaz. You got to be Tyson Fury in the ring. Loose. You got to be a male. I also don't want to watch female UFC fighters or female boxers.
Amen.
So you got to be a male, prong number one. You got to be loose then. Not all males can do that thing. That's very rare, even among that subset of the humans. And the number one mark of not being loose is when you're literally like Dwight Schrute after a Michael Scott joke, going around and trying to enforce laughter, trying to bring forth laughter from the larynxes of the subordinates.
Oh, gosh.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
I don't want to see dudes in like a female public bathroom, and I don't want to see broads on stage doing comedy. How about that? We should get that made into a sticker.
I just think... So that's Prophet Seamus. That was really remarkable timing. But when I look at... I'm looking at my notes for the show. I'm just thinking... When are Catholics... Parish orphans, retrogrades, you guys are... You're all... I'm guessing probably... with us on this. It's a common sense thing. Matt's not out there to be salacious. He's not out there to be salacious. He was the most controversial show that's ever dropped on Pints with Aquinas. Was me out there saying, I'm sick of seeing public wifely outbursts against their husbands. I'd just come from Disney World the day before. So had you. We saw so much wifely misbehavior, so much wifely unsubmission, that I was just
tantrums.
Like, look, I got to talk about it. I'm so sick of tantrums. I'm so sick of tantrums. And it's not even as a man. It's just as a consumer of goods and services publicly.
Well, it's just women are allowed to behave badly. Case in point, this broad going up on her podcast and calling somebody gay because they don't think her jokes are funny. They're just allowed to act that way. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of seeing women acting so out of control, and then people like this stupid simp guy who's like, oh, how charming it is. It's enough already.
Well, the Dwight Schrute guy saying, you better laugh. You know what she's trying to do.
It's ridiculous.
What I'm saying to you, parish orphans and retrogrades, who I know are with us on this, is there's a generational Emperor's New Clothes phenomenon happening, where with not all of the baby boomers, but most, come now, see here. You never want to be told see here by a man. See here, though. Most of the baby boomers are the ones that gave us this. No woman can ever do wrong, and you can never call it out or acknowledge it publicly for any reason. And the Gen X really absorbed that. This is a small, quick, not lengthy generation, spanning the fewest years of any of the generations by the popular generation counts. The boomers and the mini boomers, Gen X, that even some right-wing Catholic Gen Xers I've been noticing on Twitter just are totally silent on feminism. But what I'm telling you guys now is with this generational Emperor's New Clothes phenomenon of, saying that wasn't a funny joke, though. Why is everyone laughing this forced laugh? It's only most of the boomers and most of the Gen Xers that are like, ha 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 ha, that was funny. And it's time for a reckoning. Parish orphans and retrogrades. I mean, not to be too infomercially, but this book and mine, my Case for Patriarchy, they represent a reckoning. Not in the sense that they're perfectly composed nonfiction books. Not in the sense that we had really any special insight, but in the simple sense that, as Hegel said, in Phenomenology of Spirit, the time was ripe. The time is ripe to undo the generational emperor's new clothes of Gen X and the boomers, saying that just like you watch on Twitter, if someone attacks feminism, and Matt Fradd doesn't normally do it nearly as aggressively as Steph or I do, then you'll either see the aggressive virtue shaming counter coming across the table, or silence. And that's just not this generation. Millennials are sick of it. Millennials are like, no, we're going back the other way, man. We're just going. You cannot be a Catholic feminist. Same thing I told Matt Fradd, same thing I told Trent Horn when we debated feminism. There's no good feminist because there are only 4 waves of feminism. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wave 1, 2, 3, 4. And all 4 of them stand centrally, revolve centrally, inhere centrally around the premise that wives, once married, do not need to obey or submit to their husbands. And it's in the Bible and in so many encyclicals and in all of the Catholic millennia that it can't be denied. So there needs to be a reckoning, and it's not that we're genius. There are compositional flaws in every author's work. It's just that maybe we're daring. I'll take that. So we were daring to say it. We had a wacky 2022 spring and early summer because of it, right? And without getting into all those details again, you know, the most unique thing about Ask Your Husband or Case for Patriarchy, these books here, is the audacity, right? The audacity of hope, as Barack Obama would say.
Audacity.
So
dare we hope?
Yeah, dare
I hope?
But I mean, Christianity has made it utterly clear. Feminism sets itself squarely against the central proposition that wives must submit to their husband. They must do so in the home. Husbands are public, wives are private. That's another reason they can't be funny. Being funny is a fundamentally public thing. And it's just time. It's time for a change of the guard. And it's
just
feminism
time
is
for people to just start saying what they think, and not backing down. Like, I respect somebody so much when I'm sitting across. We had a friend over recently, and he brought his wife, and the first time I met her, and one of the first things she said to me was, "Oh, this is some of the things I disagreed with in your book. I read your book, and these are the things I disagreed with." And she wanted to talk to me about it. I respect the hell out of that. I really think most people do, just because you're just an authentic human being. Everybody can sniff out with like an apology video when you say something. Everyone knows, like, when you originally say something, you're usually saying something more authentically what you think. And then when you're having to backpedal, everyone knows it's insincere. Everyone knows why people do that. It's because they're getting heat, they're getting flack, their own base is getting pissed off or whatever. Just say what you think. And if you disagree with somebody, big deal. Who cares? Why does everybody freak out when you disagree with them about something? So many people in our audience right now probably hate 1 out of every 3 things I'm saying, or maybe even more. It's like, fine. You'll be okay. Everyone will be all right at the end of the day. We'll all survive, and we'll get through this together.
But here's the thing. I agree with all that, obviously. But at one valence shell deeper into the atom or whatever, the electron, whatever it is, I don't think that many people disagree with what we're saying. The woke, virtue-signaling leftist mob, the feminists and lesbians and gays and bisexuals that try to force you, like Jeremy McClellan on Twitter, to say 2 and 2 is 5. They're not as strong as they've been capable at making themselves seem. They're not nearly that strong. They don't have the numbers that they think they have. It's like Bug's Life. All we have to do is, as the ants against the grasshoppers of feminism, is it takes a couple of us to stand up, and then we realize we've got the numbers. We've got Christianity on our side. We've got the truth, recto ratio, on our side. All it takes is a few people to stay up. This is what I said to Matt publicly on Twitter. I said, never ever truckle to the special interest mob, Matt. Apology vids get pwned by the screeching harpies who generated them in the first place. Tell them to cope and seethe. This is step number one in a one-step process of avoiding becoming, you've heard me talk about this, a captive creator, the inverse of a captive audience. Captive creators are content makers who get so hamstrung by curating popular opinion that they can no longer give their own opinions. Holding fast to your own star is a slower, but a spiritually steadier growth model, one which confers and sustains vastly more equanimity. That was a follow-up tweet. You've heard me talk about that, especially recently. It's been something I've been thinking about a lot. There are captive audiences and captive creators. And I just said to him in closing, hang tough and hang loose and call if you need anything. Be loose. Be loose. Not morally. Be tight morally, but be loose when it comes to all of us who are out there in the public eye, Catholic influencers, simpliciter. We need to be kind of loose, like Nate Diaz in the ring. You don't really know why he is until you see him fight, but he doesn't have big muscles. He doesn't look particularly fast, but he's loose and he's got the technique to back it up. You, Matt Fradd, have a very reasonable audience. I was very impressed with
and it's
what they were
okay
saying
to have an opinion.
Yeah.
Now, apologies are good and holy when they're owed, and when it's usually for things like you're wrong about something, and that's happened on our channel before as well. Like Tim says something, we look back and like, actually that's not correct. Then okay, fine, apologize, but you don't have to apologize for having an opinion. If people don't like your opinion or they think that it's stupid or whatever, then go pound sand. Who cares? Like that was Matt's opinion. Matt Fradd, doesn't find stand-up women funny. Okay, big deal. I honestly, when I saw that there was even controversy over this, that was just his taste. It's like getting upset at somebody because they don't like chocolate cake. They prefer vanilla or something.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah.
who are these women who are out there trying to be like simultaneously say like, oh no, we're good, we're tough, we're strong, we're independent, but they're also freaking out like children because somebody had an opinion that they don't agree with. It's so ridiculous.
It's disfavorable to them. And you talk about this in Ask Your Husband. You're like, look, don't come for me, ladies.
Yeah.
Knives out, because I said that you should obey your husband, because it's just what Christianity says.
Because I don't care.
Or I give my opinion. Christianity doesn't give us this propositional dictum so clearly as the obey your husband. That you can't disagree with. Women have to submit to their husbands. You should just ask a preacher or a Catholic influencer, do you believe this? Do you submit to all of the 9 places in the Bible where women have to submit to their husbands? But the second thing is more me opining, and I think it's a strong basis for an opinion based on some of those scriptural passages. But you say in your book, don't come at me also, knives out, feminists, because I say, look, you're going to have a better time if you pursue behaviors around the home, ladies, that are consonant with, pursuant to being a lovely lady, right?
Treating your husband like a king and not like some slob that you're like complaining about on TikTok or whatever. It's so undignified.
Right. Like both parties, but probably especially women, should be trying to wear the favorite outfit, should be trying to stay in shape, should be trying. That's more you opining, but it's more like a recto ratio, very strongly premised opinion based on something that all Christians have to believe. And you gave a nice disclaimer in the book on, don't come at me with this. This is my point of view. It's strongly evidenced. I have a strong rationale for this point of view. I think all the people that would come at me in complaint about it anyway would not be complaining on the ground that it's wrong, right? Because it's going to be a nicer marriage if both parties are trying to please each other, but especially
Obviously.
the submissive one.
Right.
Especially, I mean, because I can tell you, I had this conversation with neighbor dudes around here, with randos in the grocery store. And they're like, I do X, Y, and Z to get away from the ball and chain. I have never in my entire married life, 17 plus years, said, I do X, Y, or Z to get away from the ball and chain, because you are my best friend and the funnest person to be around. I mean, you have the occasional argument and it's not much fun, but we can honestly say, without the Seamus Coughlin denoted hypocrisy charge from the left. Yeah, they love saying Christians are hypocrites. We can honestly say, dude, you're my favorite person to be around. At the end of the day, I would get out of work when I had a regular job, and all the guys would tease me. I just want to go be with my wife, man. She's pretty. She's prettier than you. She smells better than you. She's fun to be around. She makes me things.
But I'm not funnier than them.
She's not funnier than them. You're very witty, though. You are witty in your way, but you're not funny. But I don't. Men aren't attracted. Men don't need to be around other dudes all the time. I'm around you for 8 hours at work.
Men want to be around other dudes all the time when their wives are terrors at home. That's usually when the guys are like making the man caves and doing like just a ton of extracurricular activities when their wives are just not like just being chill at home.
Which I think I said on that interview heard around the world on Matt Fradd. I was like, dude, bro, I don't have a man cave, man. I have
a man house.
I have a man house. That sounds more macho, like I'm beating my chest. That's not even how I meant it necessarily. Yeah, I mean, there's an element of machismo in that proposition, that it's a whole man house. I don't need to be relegated to one of the darker fringes of the property. But there's a more meaningful and I think a softer note in there. And the softer note is, I don't want to be banished from you. I mean, literally, maybe you could take this moment to, I'm just thinking about
that's just why.
What do I do around the house? I want to be around you. That's where I want to be. We're fun.
It's funny. Every time Tim does get a speaking engagement or does anything, we always tell them, like, do you have RV parking? Because our family is just always together. And I think that was part of, not to keep talking about my book, but that was one of the reasons why I wanted to write it, because I wanted women to start reclaiming the beauty of homemaking and their families and just how fulfilling that actually is and how beautiful it is and what a gift you're giving to your children, not just your male children, but especially your female children. You're setting them up for such a lovely example of the vocation. You look at the Virgin Mother and you see what she did in her simplicity. Like, was she, touring around the United States and, trying to like make everybody chuckle? And then, no, she was just very simple. She was private. She was behind the scenes. There's great beauty and dignity in that. And I know a lot of these feminists are like, oh, you just shackled, around all day or whatever they try to say. It's like, you know what? My husband loves me enough. He wants to protect me. Tim, he gets nervous if I'm out in public without him. He's worried about me, and that's not because he's creepy or weird. It's because he genuinely loves me, respects me, and wants me to be safe and happy.
But also I get bored. I don't. No,
that is true.
No, you're kind of missing the point I'm making. Oh, he gets nervous. They're gonna be like, oh, the codependence. They're always looking for the Seamus Coughlin. Denoted
they always
like
do, yeah.
Quickest angle from A to B. Okay, call him a hypocrite, call him a sex pervert, call him weird, call him that. No, look, me and you are friends, like best friends, and it's a friendship between unequals, like you talk about in chapter 4 or 5 of your book, like Aristotle says. But it's only unequals in rank. It's literally, you can only have this kind of super, super close friendship between unequals, and I don't know what to do around the house without you. We're always together. We always run errands together. That's the main thing we do when we get done here. Is like, okay, let's take a drive into town. We kind of live in the forest. We find some errand to do. We talk. We laugh. We get a snow cone in the car with the kids. And I just can't. I don't want to imagine being away from you. That doesn't mean it's perfect. You got to work at stuff, but I think it's impossible to do what I'm trying to do. This needle is impossible to thread because Jen Fulweiler and all of her friends and all of the Catholic feminists out there like Favale, they'll watch this and they'll just try
to pick nits and like impose like their own negative, miserable presuppositions on somebody because they say something they don't like oh, you tell your husband where you are during the day? It must be because he abuses you. It must be because you're brainwashed. It must be this. How about this? How about I married, because I'm a smart woman, a good guy, and he treats me really, really well, and I treat him really, really well, and we just really like spending time with each other. You don't have to slap on any sort of negative whatever she did with Matt Fradd, like, oh, he must be a closet this, he must be. How about just somebody who's just genuinely happy because they're trying really hard to do well at their vocation?
That
because
couldn't be what it is.
I'm focusing on him, and he's focusing on me, and our married vocation is number one, and then we diverge that attention then to our children. How about just that?
Yeah. How about the common sense answer to the old mobster question? What's What's a greater form of bond, a way a mobster bonds himself? Is it fear or love? Love every time. It's love every time. What's fission or fusion? I don't know what, technically speaking, the scientific answer is, but it's fusion, right? It's not fission. Why can't it be that? I don't understand. If you're a Catholic feminist, though trying to be a Catholic, why is it so hard to believe, aside from your lived experience, feminist, because if you're a feminist, you don't have this experience with your husband. Why is it so hard to believe, though, for the sake of getting the question out there, that two people married each other because they are sexually attracted to each other, and it's just fun to be around someone you're sexually attracted to. Sorry, to make it a little PG, but B, they're your favorite person in the world, which is what the heck your husband or wife is supposed to be. C, you get bored when they're away. D, they make you happier than anyone else, even your other friends.
Right.
A, B, C, D. Boom. Answer that for me. Maybe you all didn't marry so well. Maybe you're all afraid of each other. I hear a lot of cucked dudes trying to sound macho, but proving the opposite by talking about their wife as a ball and chain that they're afraid of, and their man caves and their escapism and
the same thing for the women.
gross.
It's like these women who simultaneously say, I'm so smart, independent, and then they gripe about their husbands in the next breath. And I'm like, wait, smart women pick good husbands. So if you're one of those women who are just griping about your husband all around, you're wearing like a big sign on your head that says, I'm not smart enough to pick a good dude. So you can't say both things. You're either a smart woman and you pick a great guy that you want to serve and have a lovely home life with, or you just didn't and you're complaining about your husband in public.
And see, I just want to point out, so, and this is not because we make no mistakes, or we've never made mistakes in our marriage, or we've never made reasoning errors. Ask any of my professors. I've made plenty of those. But we've thought a great deal more than people out there in the public at large, even the Catholic public, about feminism. Maybe especially the Catholic public, about feminism. So our answers are strong, yet totally honest. And there's a kind of danger to, I think it was a show before that. Someone had said, I don't watch too much other content, but there was a show before that on Matt Fradd, maybe the one right before all this broke out, where, he was going through some of the news, and he said, someone, his show call screener guy, whatever, read a comment that was like, oh, Tim Gordon was pretty fair to Bishop Barron, insofar as he thought he did a decent job with Shia. And Matt was like, yeah, well, I don't agree with him about everything. I think he just meant he's not as strong anti-feminism as me. Maybe there's other positions that I don't know about, but I think that's all he meant. But he said Tim tries to be balanced. Thank you for the compliment, Matt. Here's how I would just say, I don't actually try to be balanced. I try to be true. I try to serve the truth in everything I do. And that makes the appearance of what I think you were kindly trying to compliment as balanced. I don't try to be balanced. The truth is lopsided. The truth is not 50-50 between the left and the right. The truth in today's culture is strongly on the right somewhere. I try to find the truth, and so I can be simultaneous about, oh, dude, yeah, when I looked at the Vatican II documents, this is the second time I went on Matt Fradd's show. After he'd had his most controversial show ever, Matt does try to find the truth in his way. He doesn't like the controversy that arose from me being on the first time. He had me back on a second time, so thank you for that, Matt. And it was all to give me the opportunity to tell his audience, hey, I learned some new stuff about the Vatican II constitutions when I looked at them and had them researched in detail. And so everyone, Matt was giving me compliments then. It was kind. It's too kind. We don't have to keep talking about it. But the point is, it's not because I'm trying to be balanced. It's because all I want is the truth. And if I've ever said something wrong or done something wrong, please just let me know. But our positions reflected collectively in Ask Your Husband and Case for Patriarchy are not wrong. They are so lopsidedly true and so crying out, vox clamantis in deserto, to be said by any bishop, or I guess Catholic layman, since it falls to us, that you literally can't overstate how opposed Catholicism is to feminism. And what we're going to do is, please do buy Case for Patriarchy and Ask Your Husband. Go to the website. You can get an autographed copy of Ask Your Husband, this new edition. But because some people don't have the time to read, don't have the money to buy a $20 to $30 book, what we're going to do very soon, we were trying to get it ready for today and it was just getting too late, is we're going to release something it's a PDF called Just the Sources. What did you want to tell them about Just the Sources?
Yeah, we're just basically compiling all of it. Because a lot of these people a lot of you out there get into these conversations like we are today, or I noticed that Matt Fradd is getting into about these issues, because feminism is everywhere. I know everyone might get kind of sick of us always talking about it, but it is under every rock. I mean, almost everything you can kind of needle in on it being caused by feminism. You have to be able to talk about these things, and especially in the Catholic community, you need to have your sources ready, and you have to be you have to be willing to talk about it openly, and you have to be able to answer some of the objections that you hear. So we made this document. It's just we just basically listed out all of just the sources from both of our books, where we got it, who said what Pope said what, and at the end, I think there's like brief common objections that we always hear from the feminists, and just very simple ways of answering those things. Because I want to just say, like, on a second thing, I want to give Matt Fradd some encouragement, and just everyone out there, if you have an opinion, just say it. Just say it. Yeah. You are never people are going to get mad at you. Like, I will get 30 emails that I will not read because I'm too busy today about what I just said. I don't care. You cannot care. You're going to make people mad. If you're being honest and you're being an authentic person and you're just being like, hey, listen, this is who I am. You either like it or you don't. That's fine. You can move on to another Catholic channel if what I'm saying is upsetting you, or you're getting overworked or whatever, verklempt or lost for speech. That's fine. That's 100% fine. We'll get people that write us an email and be like, I'm not watching you anymore. And I'm just like, that's 100% fine. May I
God
suggest?
Bless you.
I'll give them a list of suggested other channels they should go to. I'll be like, okay, you seem like you might be more of like a Catholic Answers person. I mean, I'm not trying to dig at them. I'm just saying, like, if you don't like some of our things, I'll suggest you go somewhere else. That's 100% fine. And then just for people who aren't doing this, like what Tim does for a living, who are just out in the world, just say what you think. Just say what you think. That's a leftist tactic. And a tactic of feminism is to get people to recoil and feel embarrassed or ashamed for just having an opinion. It's okay for people to have separate, differing opinions. I actually enjoy those conversations more when somebody comes to me and says, hey, I disagreed with you about this, and we talk about it. It's far more entertaining.
I'm thinking, though, there's a bimodal distribution in terms of how things go for a truth speaker who just says, okay, I'm going to follow your advice, Steph. There's two ways it goes. If you have a tribe, like Matt does, or like we do, the retrogrades, the parish orphans, they're the ones that we can confidently advise. Dude, just say what you're going to say. Your people will have your back. Matt, if you're listening, your people will have your back. I saw it on full display yesterday when I read the comm box. Those people, like us, like even the people had our back even when I got, fired 2 summers ago. Those people really should know it, and that's what makes them a thought leader. It's like, okay, there's a symbionce to that. They have the mic, and their crew, their tribe has their back. Who I feel bad for are the folks out there at the water cooler at their job that literally feel with more than a paper tiger's impetus coming the other way, countervailing paper tiger's impetus coming the other way. They feel like they might get fired if they say the truth, if they don't say 2 and 2 is 5. Those guys, you people out there, most of you, I feel worse for, because Aesop, Socrates, Jesus, one thing those 3 guys agree on is that the normies get nasty. They act nasty. Now, there are sweethearted temperaments among the normies. Lots of them are. But the thing a normie does by the essential property, the quiddity of being a normie, is if they buy into the great mainstream lie, There's a whole network of lies comprising the mainstream. But whichever lie we're talking about, here it's feminism. If they buy into it, they are programmed to get nasty, even if they're a sweet temperament. In the Aesop's fable, I believe, it's not the American happy version of the kid calling the nude emperor some nude pervert and everyone gets hip to it. That's the American version of it. That kid gets killed, I believe, in Aesop's fable. Someone double check me, but I'm pretty sure. Socrates got killed. You get hemlock. You get hemlocked. Jesus, we know what happened, and he christens the whole thing, and he says, the normies are worth saving even though they'll kill me. But the myth of the cave, Socrates, you go back to set free those people who are imprisoned in the cave, being tricked by sophists, like feminists, like LGBT, like the Marxists, like the socialists. You go back in the cave once you're a freed prisoner, and you do so out of love for the souls and the minds of those people. And what do? They kill you every time. It's the Matrix. So those folks out there, parish orphans, retrogrades, I do feel bad for you guys, because not everyone is an influencer. Not everyone has a tribe out there. That's what the symbionts is. That's why you tune in to the really strong thought leaders that are like, look, why not me? Like, I'll take this risk. And it's not like I just do it because I'm so bold. No. Because it can be scary. Let's be honest. I'm talking to Matt now. But when you have a tribe as big as you do, who are supportive and smart, they will have your back.
There's a lot of people that were reasonable. I only read a few of those comments on his video that were just like, yeah, I may not disagree with Fradd, but he's allowed to have an opinion I don't agree with. So it's just like, just go forward, strong and true, Matt.
And most of them agreed. Most of them were like, I do agree, and you should and you should be allowed to have an opinion. Some of them balked a bit and said, I don't agree, but you should be allowed to have opinion. Only the crazies that you want to shed from your tribe, from your audience, so that you don't become a captive creator, are the ones that say, I disagree, and you shouldn't be allowed to have an opinion. Matt Fradd, who's got a YouTube subscriber count of however many, 6 figures, he shouldn't be allowed an opinion? No human being is going to parrot your sentiments and private feelings 24/7. You ought to be expecting him to usually say something of value to you. But certainly it's clear enough, evident enough, that we all agree about female comedians. They're just not funny.
Everyone does. That's why they're sensitive about it, I think.
You're not allowed to. You could say 2 and 2 is 3, right? You don't have to say 2 and 2 is 5. You can be wrong in other ways, in other variant manners of error. You can't say 2 and 2 is 4, because they know the knowability, the cognizability of the truth it's got that fusion force. People are naturally drawn to the truth. And once they start seeing 1, 2, 3 guys saying it, well, then things are going to turn around. I would just add this cautionary note. Yeah, take heart, Matt. It's not that big of a deal anyway, but it is important. And I would say that with your great audience and with Trent Horn's audience, which is some overlap, a little different, a little maybe Trent's audience a little normier than Matt's. Matt's is slightly normier than mine. If I had to rank it, I don't know. Maybe I'm just approximating or trying to quantify wrong. But through those two dialogues, the more debating, forensical one with Trent, and then the more conversational one with Matt from 2 to 3 years ago, it has shaped the dialogue. And then my book, then Steph's book, it has shaped the Catholic dialogue. And as much as we were talking about it, we were discussing behind the scenes with Matt about how things went after I came on his show 3 years ago, and it was his most controversial show ever about feminists. It was the same phenomenon then as what I saw last night in the comm box. The up to down thumbs ratio, particularly at first, it got flooded by feminists later. I still think it's like 10 to 1 like to dislike or something, but it was like 15 to 1. And I pointed this out to Matt. I'm like, look, man, I know it sounds crazy. I know when you got your fingers in those Chinese finger traps, you want to pull out. You want to pull apart. But really what you do the opposite of what the reptilian, crocodilian part of the human brain tells you. No, do the opposite thing. Push further.
You lean in.
Lean in.
Just lean into that opinion, Matt.
and that will
Don't
set
let
you
them
free.
make you lean away from it. Just full on lean in. Take this moment to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Yeah, exactly. Like Conor McGregor. Because it was the same thing then. It was like, people were like, dude, no, this resonates with me. This resonates with me.
Have you ever heard like an apology? Not that this is Matt, but like, have you ever heard, by the way, of an apology video where somebody backtracked what they said and you didn't instantly just feel gross and lose complete respect for them? Because everyone knows what's happening there. They just got pressured into do it. There has never been one apology video that I've ever heard where I just didn't feel totally disgusted that the person was allowing themselves to be knuckled under like that.
Right, and technically Matt saved it. He pulled it out of the fire 3 minutes in when he's like, no, I don't apologize for the original July video. Whew.
Good for him.
I was worried. And now it came a little close to that, but good for you. Thank you. The Drew Brees thing, I'm not going to start enumerating all of the apology videos where you get the worst of both worlds. You look like a coward, and the left piles on anyway. They don't even let you off the hook. It's like in 310 to Yuma when the sheriff bails out on Dan Evans and the Ben Wade's gang just kills him anyway. Charlie Prince just kills him anyway. Right. That's what they do to you. Don't be the Drew Brees. Be the Teflon Don, like Donald Trump. That's what everyone loved about Donald Trump. Just hang tough, and your people will love you.
Yeah.
It's a little different for the Anons out there. They don't have a tribe, so we have to speak up for them. But
because that's the game, is getting you to knuckle under. They don't even care about the apology video. They just want to see that if they cause, and it's usually women, led by women, make a big enough stink about something that you will back down. They don't give a damn about what you say on your apology video. It's just seeing that you will knuckle yourself under to their power. Just don't allow them to do it. Just tell them, like, be offended. Go pound sand. I don't care if you're upset. If you're upset, then go find another channel.
Right. The mortification, the humiliation is the point of the radical left.
Yeah.
Radical feminists like Jen Fulwiler, they don't care about contrition or meeting heart to heart with you. They don't care about that. What they care about is the vulgar display of power. You've heard me talk about this lately. Exercised by, hey, I could get him to bend the knee. I could get him to go through the ritual hand washing of, now I'm not saying women aren't funny. Just say it, yeah. Well, if there are no female comedians, then women probably aren't funny in the univocal use of the term, in the primary use of the term, maybe in some equivocal sense.
And you don't even have to qualify. If Matt Fradd doesn't find even like regular women funny, like just not even comedians, but just a regular woman. If Matt Fradd came out tomorrow, which he didn't say, but if he did, I don't find any women funny ever for any reason. Okay, like who cares?
Yes, that's right. Don't qualify. Yeah. Have you ever seen a movie about a kid, like a Karate Kid type of thing with a bully, where the kid truckles to the bully and you feel good after the movie? I don't even think I've seen one of those because no one wants to watch it. You want to see the bully get punched in the mouth hard. Well, the bully is, in a word, the feminists, in a manner of speaking, in an allegorical manner of speaking. You want to see the bully get punched in the metaphorical mouth, and that is by people. The way you do that with this the info wars that we're living through, info wars becoming spiritual wars, is not to actually punch anyone in the mouth. It's to just say, like Matt Gatz, be offended. I said what I said. I believe it. Why don't you go and say the opposite on your platform?
Why don't you write funnier jokes, or just do what you're meant to do? Just go home and serve your children and your. Somebody said in chat that she has a lot of kids. This is Jen. It's like, okay,
six kids.
All right, I have 7 children, so I know what that's like to have a lot of kids, and they need their mom at home 100%. Like, don't try to bullcrap me that they don't. Kids need their mom at home, and you can get off my stoop if you think otherwise, because everyone knows the truth.
Yeah, it's a whole other show. You know, her kids might be a little older, so people start tripping over themselves and say, "Well, isn't the role of the mother different when the kids
teenagers need their parents a lot too? I mean, they have a lot of emotional needs as well. So.
Right. It's less time intensive. I'll grant that, but it's morally more intensive. You need to be around. You need to be available like Machiavelli talks about. Sonny talks about it when he's talking to Calogero in The Bronx Tale, right? Availability. You need to be available, even if you're not having to change poopy diapers like we are with the newborn, or you're not having to breastfeed like a newborn or a 1 or 2 year old.
Mm-hmm.
Availability is more you're constantly there just as a watchman, because teenagers have bigger, more morally grave problems. And so oversight's important. I don't want to get too personal with the Fulweiler stuff, but
she got personal with Fradd. It's like she deserves
No,
it.
I know. I don't want to get personal in the way that I don't want to get personal. Again, I'm not a reactor. I'm an actor. So I'm not one of these
See,
guys.
that was
like,
the woman in me.
That was the woman in you. You're like, well, she got.
Get her back.
I have a limit. I don't want to get too personal, but she's saying, well, my kids are more independent. It's like, well, there are natural variations.
If they're independent, they would be out of your house. Are you talking about kids that are still in your house? Because if they're in your house living under your roof, they're not independent.
No, but you're doing the woman thing, right?
Yeah,
No, I mean, literally, you're like, no, there is natural variation even among our kids, right? It's not just a genetic thing. They do need your time in differing quantities and ways. And I see that, but no kid, even a 17-year-old that still lives with you, which is your point, needs your time so little that particularly the mom can just be away. And look, this isn't about shame. This is about just, look, iron sharpening iron, which is a man with a man thing. Manly men that are high T tend to take constructive criticism well. Women famously don't take it as well, but good women do. And I would just say, look, maybe the whole thing could be a learning experience to everyone. Maybe we can all lick this feminism thing together. Maybe not make a villain out of Fradd or Fulweiler or anyone, right? Maybe just let's all look at this thing. Feminism is the original sin of Adam and Eve in the garden. And we all fell. We all have to die because, because of Adam, because he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do, which is to be the caretaker of his wife. And maybe instead of everyone shaming each other, that's not what we're trying to do, even with Jen Fulweiler. Maybe honestly, just consider. Read these passages. We will release it soon, the sources. Read all our passages as none of our commentary, Bible and citations from encyclicals in the 20th century. It is shocking. It's hard to read that thing as a
Even it's 28 pages long, because I get a lot of people don't have time to read books, so we just got the sources for you. But I think it's 28 pages long, and we just lay it out, what Pope said, what the Catechism says, what the Bible says. It's really great.
And no one could read it that's honest, or even a little honest, and be like, yeah, the thing for me to do is to, be away from the kids more, right? So we're pulling back into the generic, and I don't want to be too specific. And we're going to release this soon. We were going to do it today, but it was taking up too much time. We got to double check it for errors and typos and things like that. We're going to release it to you guys for free, a PDF. The way we've been trying, you'll note, to release more free stuff to you, the public, not just to Patreons. We really have been trying sincerely to be like, this is important. This is that important. If you want to give us a donation, a donor box, that's cool. But this is important. The catechism, the Baltimore Catechism stuff is really, really important. We have 500 enrolled in that. You can still try to enroll in that for Tuesdays. Second class coming in 2 days. And soon enough, it'll be just the sources. You don't have to pay us for one of our books. Basically, the citational list, the bibliography from our 2 books, because it's really important that people see this for their private lives, for their private salvations. That's sincerely what we care about.
Amen.
Yeah.
A woman.
A woman. Amen and a woman.
A woman.
Yeah. But,
Anyway.
but the normies get nasty. Even the sweet ones, they get nasty when you push back on the lie. They defend the lie. They're kind of programmed to defend the lie. And we have to do our best as Christians, even though it puts our very lives at risk, according to Socrates and Jesus. We have to go back in the cave and to try to rescue them, because their eternal life depends on it. With things like, how do we get to heaven through our vocation as man or woman if we're not a priest?
And defend your people, guys. Like, if Matt, you like his channel and you're one of his subscribers, and he says something and he puts his opinion out there and he starts getting flack for it, like, defend your people. Like, stand up for him and tell everybody else to calm down and sit down.
Have his back.
Have his back.
Yeah.
Even if you don't necessarily agree with him, it's just, He's given an honest opinion, and he's obviously a very nice guy. It's like he doesn't deserve to be. Whatever this lady said about him on the podcast was vile and disgusting. He didn't deserve that at all. Stand up for your guy.
Yeah. Amen. An A woman.
An A woman.
God bless you all, and we will see you with some exciting shows this week upcoming. Steph is back.
I'm back.
Tell the
Feminism
shredder.
woke me from my slumber, and here I am.
God bless you all. Deus Volt. Happy Sunday.